Listen to this carefully. The loneliness you feel is not a punishment. It is a sign. It is proof that something about you is different. Something about you is set apart. Something about you does not belong to the ordinary flow of this world. You keep asking yourself, why do I have no real friends? Why does no one truly understand me? Why do I always feel alone, even in a crowd? And the answer is not what you think. It is not because you are unworthy. It is not because you are broken. It is because you are chosen by God. God does not prepare chosen ones in crowded rooms. God does not shape destiny in noisy circles filled with distractions. God takes those He has selected and pulls them away from the familiar, away from the comfortable, away from the approval of people. And when that separation begins, it feels like loss. It feels like rejection. It feels like something is wrong. But in reality, something divine is happening in your life. You see, when God is about to elevate a person, He first isolates them. He removes voices so that His voice becomes louder. He removes people so that dependence shifts from humans to Him alone. Because as long as you are surrounded by constant validation, constant attention, constant companionship, you will never fully rely on God. And God is not interested in sharing your attention. He wants your full focus, your full trust, your full surrender. That emptiness you feel when no one checks on you, that silence when your phone does not ring, that distance you notice when others gather without you. It is not accidental. It is intentional. God is creating space in your life, space for clarity, space for growth, space for transformation, because what He is preparing you for cannot be built in the presence of shallow connections. You were not created for surface level relationships. You were not designed to fit into every group. You were not meant to laugh at everything, agree with everything, follow everything. There is a weight on your life, a calling on your soul, a purpose that demands depth, and depth requires separation. Look closely at your journey. Notice how every time you tried to blend in, something inside you resisted. Notice how even when you were surrounded by people, you still felt alone. That is because your spirit recognizes what your mind is still trying to understand. You are not meant for ordinary connections. You are meant for divine alignment. God will not allow you to stay in places where you are misunderstood, undervalued, or distracted from your purpose. Even if it means removing people you once thought would stay forever. Even if it means breaking connections that felt comfortable. Because comfort is often the enemy of calling. You ask, why do others have so many friends and I have none? But you do not see what God sees. You do not see the distractions those friendships carry. You do not see the compromises they are making. You do not see how easily they are pulled away from their purpose. God is protecting you from that. God is guarding your path. Chosen ones walk a narrow road. It is not crowded. It is not popular. It is not easy, but it is purposeful. And along that road, there are seasons where you will walk alone, not because you are abandoned, but because you are being guided. There is a difference between loneliness and divine isolation. Loneliness drains you. Divine isolation builds you. Loneliness confuses you. Divine isolation clarifies you. Loneliness makes you feel empty. Divine isolation fills you with strength you did not know you had. God is teaching you to stand on your own. God is teaching you to hear His voice without interference. God is teaching you to find peace without needing people to create it for you. Because if your peace depends on others, it can be taken away at any moment. But when your peace comes from God, nothing can shake it. Do not mistake this season. Do not label it as failure. Do not call yourself unwanted. What you are experiencing is preparation. God is strengthening your heart so that when the right people enter your life, you will not depend on them for your identity. You will not lose yourself trying to keep them. You will not settle for less just to avoid being alone, because many people are surrounded by others but have lost themselves completely. They laugh, but it is not real. They talk, but it is not meaningful. They connect, but it is not deep. God is saving you from that emptiness disguised as companionship. Your silence is shaping you. Your solitude is sharpening you. Your distance is defining you. Every moment you spend alone is building a foundation that no one can see right now, but one day it will become visible. One day people will look at you and wonder how you became so strong, so focused, so unshaken. And they will not understand the nights you spent alone, the battles you fought in silence, the growth that happened behind closed doors. God is doing a hidden work in you, a work that does not need an audience, a work that does not require approval, a work that is preparing you for something greater than temporary friendships. And here is the truth that many cannot accept. When you are chosen, not everyone is allowed to walk with you. Not everyone is meant to understand you. Not everyone is meant to stay, because your journey is not for everyone. Some people come into your life only for a season. Some come to teach you lessons. Some come to teach you lessons. Some come to reveal who you are not. And when their purpose is complete, God removes them, not to hurt you, but to protect you. If God allowed everyone to stay, your life would be crowded with confusion. Your vision would be clouded. Your purpose would be diluted. But because He loves you, He filters your connections. He removes what does not align. He closes doors that would have led you away from your destiny. And yes, it hurts. Yes, it feels unfair. Yes, there are moments when you wish things were different. But trust this, God sees what you cannot see. He knows what you do not know. And He is guiding you in ways you may not understand right now. There is power in your solitude. There is clarity in your silence. There is growth in your isolation. And if you learn to embrace this season instead of resisting it, you will discover a strength that cannot be broken. Stop chasing people who do not value you. Stop trying to fit into spaces where you are not appreciated. Stop lowering your standards just to feel included. You were not created to be accepted by everyone. You were created to fulfill a purpose given by God. And that purpose requires focus. It requires discipline. It requires separation. When you are alone, you begin to understand yourself. You begin to hear your thoughts clearly. You begin to recognize your strength and confront your weaknesses. You begin to grow in ways that would not be possible in constant distraction. God is using this time to build your character, to strengthen your faith, to deepen your understanding, to prepare you for responsibilities that require maturity, because where God is taking you, not everyone can go. Not everyone will understand. Not everyone will support you. And that is why He is training you now to stand firm even when you stand alone. Do not be afraid of being different. Do not be afraid of being alone. Do not be afraid of walking a path that others do not understand, because that path leads to something greater. The world will try to convince you that you need many friends to be fulfilled, but fulfillment does not come from numbers. It comes from alignment. It comes from purpose. It comes from knowing that you are walking in the direction God has set for you. And when the time is right, God will bring the right people into your life. Not many, but meaningful, not temporary, but purposeful, not distracting, but uplifting. People who understand your journey, who respect your growth, who support your calling. But until that time comes, you must learn to stand strong in your solitude. You must learn to find peace in your own company. You must learn to trust God even when you do not understand what He is doing, because the same God who allowed this season of isolation is the same God who will bring connection at the right time. The same God who removed people from your life is the same God who will introduce the right ones. Nothing is random. Nothing is wasted. Every moment has meaning. Every experience has purpose. So stop questioning your worth based on how many people are around you. Stop measuring your value by the number of friends you have. Your worth is not determined by people. Your worth is defined by God. You are not alone. You are being prepared. You are being refined. You are being elevated. And one day you will look back at this season, not with pain, but with understanding. Not with regret, but with gratitude. Because you will realize that the loneliness you once feared was the very thing that shaped you into who you were meant to become. There is something you must understand at a deeper level, something that will change the way you see your entire life. God is not just removing people from you. He is revealing you to yourself, because as long as you are surrounded by noise, you will never truly discover who you are. As long as you are constantly influenced by others, you will nay. Fully hear the direction God has written within your soul. You are in a season where masks are being stripped away, not just from others, but from you, the version of you that tried to please everyone, the version of you that adjusted just to be accepted, the version of you that stayed silent just to belong. God is removing all of that. And what remains may feel unfamiliar, but it is real. It is authentic. It is who you were always meant to be. Many people are afraid of this stage because it forces them to confront themselves. When you are alone, there is no distraction from your thoughts. There is no escape from your emotions. There is no one to blame, no one to impress, no one to hide behind. It is just you and God. And in that space, truth becomes unavoidable. God begins to show you things you ignored before. He begins to expose habits that are holding you back. He begins to correct your thinking, reshape your mindset, and rebuild your inner world. This process is not always comfortable. In fact, it can feel overwhelming, but it is necessary, because God is not preparing you for comfort. He is preparing you for purpose. He is preparing you for purpose. There are levels of purpose that require a different kind of strength, a strength that cannot be developed in the presence of constant support, a strength that is born in silence, in patience, in endurance. God is building that strength in you right now. You may not see it yet, but you are becoming more disciplined. You are becoming more aware. You are becoming more focused. Things that once distracted you no longer have the same power. Conversations that once entertained you now feel empty. Environments that once felt normal now feel misaligned. This is not confusion. This is transformation. God is elevating your standards, and when your standards rise, your circle must shrink. Because not everyone can meet you at the level God is taking. Why? Not everyone is willing to grow, to change, to evolve. Some people are comfortable where they are, but you are not called to stay where you are. You are being pulled forward. That is why certain connections feel distant now. That is why some relationships feel forced. That is why you feel out of place in spaces where you once felt at home. It is not because something is wrong with you. It is because you have outgrown what once fit you. Growth creates distance, and that distance is not something to fear. It is something to understand, because when God expands your vision, your environment must change. When God increases your awareness, your connections must adjust. When God calls you higher, everything that cannot rise with you must fall away. This is the part many people resist. They try to hold on to what God is asking them to release. They try to stay connected to what is no longer aligned. They try to force what God is naturally separating. And in doing so, they delay their own growth. Do not make that mistake. If God is removing something from your life, let it go. If a connection is fading, do not chase it. If a door is closing, do not force it open. Trust that God knows what He is doing, even when it does not make sense to you. Because sometimes what you are trying to hold on to is the very thing that is holding you back. You cannot step into your next level while clinging to your past. You cannot embrace your calling while holding on to comfort. You cannot walk in clarity while surrounded by confusion. God is calling you to a higher place, and higher places require lighter loads. This is why your circle is small. This is why your phone is quiet. This is why your presence is rare, because you are not meant to be everywhere with everyone at all times. You are meant to be intentional. You are meant to be focused. You are meant to move with purpose. There is power in being selective. God is teaching you that your energy is valuable, your time is valuable, your presence is valuable. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves your attention. Not everyone deserves your trust. And once you truly understand this, you will stop feeling lonely. You will start feeling protected, because what you once saw as isolation, you will now recognize as preservation. God is preserving your peace. God is preserving your focus. God is preserving your purpose. Imagine if you were constantly surrounded by people who drained your energy, who distracted your mind, who pulled you away from your path. Imagine how much time you would lose, how much clarity would be taken from you, how much potential would remain unrealized. God is preventing that, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when it feels unfair, even when it feels like you are missing out. God is protecting you from things you cannot yet see. There are conversations you are not part of because they would corrupt your thinking. There are environments you are not included in because they would weaken your discipline. There are connections you do not have because they would delay your destiny. And one day, you will thank God for every closed door, every unanswered message, every missed opportunity that once confused you, because you will realize that what you thought you needed was not what you were meant to have. God's vision for your life is greater than your current understanding. His plan is deeper than your present desires, and His timing is more precise than your expectations. So when you feel alone, do not rush to fill that space. Sit in it, learn from it, grow through it, because that space is sacred. It is in that space that ideas are born. It is in that space that clarity is revealed. It is in that space that strength is developed. It is in that space that your connection with God becomes stronger, and that connection is everything. Because when you are deeply connected to God, you do not need constant validation from people. You do not need approval to feel worthy. You do not need attention to feel complete. You carry a peace that does not depend on external circumstances. You carry a confidence that is not shaken by rejection. You carry a strength that does not break under pressure. That is what God is building in you. A foundation that cannot be moved. A mindset that cannot be controlled by others. A spirit that remains steady no matter what changes around you. This is why your journey looks different. This is why your path feels lonely at times. This is why your experiences are not like everyone else's, because you are not like everyone else. You are being shaped for something specific, something intentional, something meaningful. And every moment of solitude is a part of that process. So instead of asking, why do I have 0 friends? Ask a better question. What is God preparing me for in this season? Because when you shift your perspective, everything changes. What once felt like rejection begins to feel like direction. What once felt like loss begins to feel like protection. What once felt like loneliness begins to feel like alignment. And in that alignment, you will find a strength that cannot be explained, a peace that cannot be taken, and a purpose that cannot be denied. Stay in the process. Trust the timing. And remember, God never isolates without intention, and He never removes without replacing something greater at the right time. There is another truth you must face with courage. God is not only separating you from people, He is separating you from dependence. Because dependence on people weakens the spirit, but dependence on God strengthens it beyond measure. And God knows that where He is taking you, you cannot afford to lean on unstable foundations. People change, people leave, people misunderstand. But God remains constant. God remains present. God remains faithful. So He teaches you through seasons of silence and solitude to shift your reliance from what is temporary to what is eternal. This is why you have been placed in situations where no one could truly help you. Situations where advice was not enough. Situations where support was absent. Situations where you had no choice but to turn inward and upward. In those moments when you felt like you had nothing left, you were actually being introduced to a deeper connection with God, because when everything else is stripped away, what remains is truth. And the truth is this: God is enough. But you cannot fully understand that while you are constantly surrounded by alternatives. You cannot fully embrace that while you are still searching for fulfillment in people. So God removes the alternatives, not to deprive you, but to reveal Himself to you in a way you have never experienced before. There is a strength that comes when you realize that you can stand alone and still be at peace. There is a power that rises within you when you understand that your value is not tied to how many people surround you, but to the purpose God has placed within you, you begin to walk differently. You begin to think differently. You begin to carry yourself with a quiet confidence that does not seek attention, but commands respect. Not because you are trying to prove something, but because you know something. You know that God is with you. And that knowledge changes everything. It changes how you respond to rejection. It changes how you handle silence. It changes how you view absence, because what once felt like abandonment now feels like alignment with something greater. You stop chasing people and you start chasing purpose. You stop seeking approval and you start seeking truth. You stop fearing loneliness and you start embracing growth. This is the shift. And once this shift happens, you cannot go back, because you begin to see clearly. You begin to recognize patterns you once ignored. You begin to understand why certain relationships never worked, why certain connections never lasted, why certain people could never fully understand you. It was never meant to. Not every connection is designed to go deep. Not every relationship is designed to last. Some are temporary by design. Some are shallow by purpose. Some are meant to pass through your life, not settle in it. And God, in His wisdom, removes what is temporary so you do not mistake it for permanent. Because if you build your life on temporary foundations, you will always feel unstable. But when your foundation is built on God, you become unshakable. This is why your life may feel different from others. While they are building wide networks, you are building deep roots. While they are seeking quantity, you are bed. I'm trained for quality. While they are focused on being seen, you are being prepared to see clearly. And clarity is rare. Clarity allows you to recognize truth in a world full of illusion. Clarity allows you to make decisions that align with your purpose, not your emotions. Clarity allows you to walk away from what looks good but is not right. God is sharpening your discernment, and discernment requires distance. Because when you are too close to everything, you cannot see anything clearly. But when God creates space, your vision becomes sharper. You begin to notice what others overlook. You begin to feel what others ignore. You begin to understand what others cannot explain. This is not coincidence. This is not coincidence. This is preparation. God is training your spirit to recognize alignment, to sense truth, to identify what belongs and what does not. And once you develop this, your circle will naturally remain small. Not because you are rejected, but because you are selective. You will no longer be impressed by surface-level connections. You will no longer be drawn to empty conversations. You will no longer feel the need to be included in everything because you understand your worth. And when you understand your worth, you stop accepting what does not match it. This is why many cannot walk with you. Not because you are better than them, but because you are on a different path. A path that requires focus. A path that demands discipline. A path that is guided by purpose, not popularity. And that path is often lonely. But it is never empty, because even in your solitude, God is present. Even in your silence, God is speaking. Even in your isolation, God is working. You are not alone. You are being led. And there is a difference. Being alone without purpose leads to despair. But being alone with purpose leads to power. You are not wandering, you are being directed. Every step, every pause, every delay, every separation, it all has meaning. Even the moments that felt like setbacks were actually setups. Even the times you felt forgotten were moments God was shaping you. Even the silence you struggled with was a space where God was strengthening you. Nothing has been wasted. Not your pain, not your confusion, not your waiting. Everything is being used. God is weaving your experiences into something greater than you can currently see. And the threads that feel disconnected now will one day form a picture that makes sense. But until that day comes, you must trust. Trust that God knows what He is doing. Trust that this season has purpose. Trust that your isolation is not permanent. It is preparation. Because when the time comes, when you have been fully shaped, fully strengthened, fully aligned, God will bring the right people into your life. And when they come, you will not question it. You will not force it. You will not fear losing it, because it will align naturally. It will feel right. It will support your purpose, not distract from it. And most importantly, it will not replace your connection with God. It will complement it. Until then, stand firm. Stand firm in your solitude. Stand firm in your growth. Stand firm in your identity, because you are not missing out. You are being set apart. You are not being overlooked. You are being prepared. You are not without friends. You are under the guidance of God, and that is greater than anything this world can offer. So now the question is no longer, why am I alone? The question is, what will I do with this calling God has placed on my life? Because once you understand that your solitude is not a curse, but a sacred assignment, you can no longer live casually. You can no longer think small. You can no longer waste the very season that God designed to elevate you. Look at your life with honesty. Look at your habits, your thoughts, your direction. Are you growing, or are you just waiting? Are you becoming stronger, or are you just surviving? Because God did not separate you from the crowd so you could sit in confusion. He separated you so you could rise with clarity. This is your moment to awaken. Awaken to the truth that your life has weight. Awaken to the reality that your purpose is real. Awaken to the understanding that God is watching how you respond in this season. Not how people treat you, not how many stand with you, but how you stand when no one else does. Because that is where your true strength is revealed. Do not run back to noise just because silence feels uncomfortable. Do not lower your standards just to feel included. Do not trade your calling for temporary comfort. You have come too far, and God has invested too much into you for you to go back to what He has already pulled you out of. Stand firm. Stand firm when it feels lonely. Stand firm when it feels uncertain. Stand firm when it feels like no one understands. Because God understands. God sees. God knows. And He is closer to you in your solitude than you ever realized in the crowd. Let this be the moment you stop questioning your worth and start walking in it. Let this be the moment you stop chasing connection and start building purpose. Let this be the moment you stop fearing isolation and start embracing transformation. Speak to your own soul and declare that you will not waste this season. Declare that you will grow, that you will rise, that you will become everything God is shaping you to be. Declare that your peace will not be shaken by absence, that your focus will not be broken by distraction, that your faith will not be weakened by silence. Because you are not empty, you are being filled. You are not behind, you are being prepared. You are not forgotten. You are being formed by the hands of God. And if you can hold on to that truth, if you can carry that conviction deep within your heart, then no silence will break you, no distance will confuse you, and no loneliness will defeat you. Walk forward with boldness. Walk forward with certainty. Walk forward knowing that the same God who set you apart is the same God who will sustain you, guide you, and complete what He has started within you. Let your life reflect that truth. Let your actions prove that truth. Let your faith stand unshaken in that truth.